folks. Next day, these have been drying overnight. These are my tools of choice. I have this 2 cherries, about 3/4 inch chisel, 20 millimeter. I have the rasp saw, saw blade rasp, Shinto. And then I have this, which is my favorite tool for neck carving. And I don't even know what brand it is. It should say on here somewhere. Oh, it's a Dragon file. And it's got Chinese writing on it. Half round on one side and flat on the other side. This is a great tool. So when I want to hammer something like chiseling, I use this little hammer here. I use this little hammer for a lot of stuff. I bang in frets with it. Well, I tap them in the ends and then I press them in. But I got this with a set of chisels or something at some point, and it's just too big. It's crazy big. Anyway, I've never used it. I mean, I've tried to use it, but it just doesn't work. Way too big for what I do. So what I'm going to do is I start cutting into this thing and see where the grain wants to split at before I commit myself too much. Maybe I do need a bigger hammer. Anyway, this isn't going to split into anything too deep, so we're good. I think my chisel might need to be sharpened. You know, I carved the spruce braces with this. Ching! And that spruce is not nearly as tough as this maple. But it slices right through that. Okay. Well, made a lot of progress. I'm going to go ahead and try the bigger hammer and see what happens. Ooh, I started to nick the inside of that neck right there, so let's pull out of that. We're getting pretty close pretty quick here. Let's see what happens if I go down here a little bit. That's good. Let's come up a fuzz. Alright, so I take back all the horrible things I said. This actually works better for this harder wood. I'm getting pretty close here. I'm going to have to, well, once I get some of this other stuff down. Let's go back here. Yeah, we're going to file the rest of that. All right, now I'm going to chisel the other side down, and we won't record all that. All right, so I mentioned that I like this Shinto saw rasp for neck carving, but there's really no place for that to happen here. If you're carving the shaft, then yes, makes sense. This dragon file here, or rasp, is going to be great, but it's relatively aggressive, so we'll need to be pretty careful. But at the same time, it is aggressive, but it's pretty touch sensitive, and you can file and roll and all that kind of stuff with this curved side. It's very nice for doing the transitions. Problem with using maple as a reinforcement is that it's much harder than the mahogany. So once I get down to where the maple is close, or I'm touching the mahogany, then the mahogany will just wipe right out of there, and the maple will hardly move. So we'll be going to sandpaper or whatever. It's tricky when you've got two woods that are that different in hardness. You can run into the same thing sometimes when you're doing multi-laminate necks. Maple, maple and ebony or wenge, for instance, will carve a lot slower than the mahogany if you have a mahogany combination in there, or walnut, for instance. And anyway, something to be aware of. That's good. All right, these two are going to have to come down together. So I'm going to move over to this side and get that blended in as well as this is, and then work on the tops here. All right, so I got both of these filed down very, very close. Trying to file, well, this isn't flat, but this must be cupped up a little bit here, because as I try to file flat across here, I'm engaging both of these. So I'm going to take this card scraper, well, it's a chunk of steel scraper, and try to scrape down here and get very, very close before I sand. I'm obviously going to sand through, and that's, like I said before, I believe I said it before, I'm going to, refill and stain and hopefully be pretty close, and then just use wipe-on poly over that. I went ahead and filed this part off. There was a rise here, which was rocking, and I wanted the tuner to sit flat. Since I'm going to be having touch-up here anyway, most of it's under the tuner. I wanted it to sit flat. Anyway, while I've got your attention, this file, which looks like a, individually cut tooth, pretty aggressive carving file, is called a Tecton. It's an absolute piece of garbage, and I just wanted to throw it away on camera because it doesn't do anything. You can push on as hard as you want, and it doesn't remove any wood. It just kind of rolls over the top of the board. So anyway, I'm going to start here, and I realize my hands are probably in the way, but I'm just basically getting the file marks out of here now, and then I will work over toward the edges and try to get a blend started, and then I will sand it. The trying to do as little finish repair as possible. Although I'm gonna sand this in between these two because it's raised and I don't want that. I'm not doing anything to the front of the pig head, even though it looks kind of bad, but I'm not gonna deal with that. I could, but I'm afraid I'll end up having to re-logo it, all that kind of stuff, and I don't want to have to do that. So here I'm into the mahogany there. This thing does have a slight curve to it, so I'm attempting to more or less just, go all the way across the surface so that I don't end up digging a valley into this. I don't have anything straight that is small enough just to do. Oh, why did I take that back? I just bought a new tool. Let's see what happens. I didn't buy these with the intention of doing this sort of thing with them, but they are little scrapers. They're called the Luth Hoe, H-O-E, and so I bought them primarily because when I do bridge re-glues and you have to scrape glue and or enlarge the pad and scrape lacquer off, or on a new build when you have to scrape all the lacquer off or a lot of it. So these are a 1/2 inch. Well, this one's a 1/2 inch. The other one is a 1/4 inch. And I am getting more chips than dust with this. Oops, I rolled over on that. This has got to be about as boring as watching grass grow, so I'm just going to carry on like this, and then I'll move into sandpaper, and I should bring you back in at some point. Just scraped a piece of glue off of there, so that's off. Must be pretty close. I am very close. All right, so I got them scraped down pretty well, and I started sanding, and I actually still see some gunk here. I washed the neck down really good with naphtha, but I think I'm still seeing some. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. It's just gunk. Anyway, I'm going to have to clean it again really well. I'll use something harsher than naphtha, I guess. Anyway, so I'm just sanding right on the maple just to get all the tooling marks out. And I will be blending onto the mahogany. There's just no getting around it, I don't think. I do have an area here that is raised from the original break. And I'm using 220. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I'm ready to put the color and the sealer on. I'm not sure what this is, but I think it's a little coarser than 220. It might be 180 or something. I might just use that hoe for that too. Let's see. You know, I said something the other day about this mineral streak here, and that maybe they shouldn't have used this piece of wood. That's not necessarily because there's a mineral streak in it, but you can see that this piece of wood, the grain is rotating through there. And that's what I wouldn't like about that piece of wood, not the mineral streak itself. All right, I think that's sanded in pretty well. I'm just going to go ahead with some finer paper, fresh piece. All right, it has some mahogany grain filler left over from the back of the strat I did a couple days ago. Kind of got dried out and skimmed over, but get it on here and I'll just smear it around a bit. Use my already dirty finger. I did some tests on a maple stick to see if I could get this maple to kind of stain in closer, and nothing really got me exactly where I wanted to be. So what I'm going to end up doing is probably, well, I'm doing this first, and then I might try staining over this, or I might just say, hey, that looks okay. Probably send the owner a picture and see what he thinks. Because the longer I spend on it, the more it costs him. So. You can see if I put any pressure on that the maple looks a lot lighter. And it doesn't take stain the same way that mahogany does. I don't really think I opened up much of the grain as far as that goes, so I'm just hoping that the color in this filler will bring that mahogany up a little bit. Just going to let that soak a little before I take it off. So these are the different colors I messed with. This was just a black walnut, which I'm pretty sure is what Martin uses to stain their mahogany with. But their mahogany always looks a little redder than this. Well, actually, the sides look like this. The mahogany sides match that pretty close, just darker, but the hue's the same. And this was actually what they called mahogany. I have some stain pens. This was oil stain from Minwax. This is a stain pen. This is a stain pen under the filler, and this is a stain pen over the filler. So, and this stain pen was, this stain pen was called walnut. So anyway, you can see nothing really worked. Yeah, so the maple didn't really color up too much. It's kind of what I thought would happen. Still got a little bit of a color difference here, but I think that's just the finish. Once we put some finish on that, that should blend fairly well, I believe. So I'm just trying to leave a little bit of this color on the maple, although it will wipe off quite white. I ended up taping around these things and mixing up some lacquer with the color in it, and then shot these, and I got a little too dark. If I'd have just half a second sooner. But when you try to like sand them down to lighten them, it just ruins everything. So anyway, I shot a picture to the owner and he was fine. So I did go ahead and blow a little color, you know, in between and past a little bit. And I'm not sure how much you can see in the camera. Pretty sure it looks worse in the camera. I know it looks worse in photographs than it does in real life. But so then after I got the color lacquer on, then I cleared everything. And I just sanded from 800 to 1000 in Super Asolux just to get the most of the orange peel out. Can't sand far enough to get the sunken previous lacquer out. And this here, which is all between peg tuners and all that. Anyway, so I feel like I got the neck blended pretty well. I know it's lacquered in good. I just took, what's this product? I've been using this along with the next one up, all-in-one it's called. So this is 400, I guess 3D is the product name, and then there's another one above this. And when I'm doing a full shine, I do both. I didn't want to bring this back, and I would have sanded, I would have gone down in finer paper too. What I didn't want to do was make this all shinier, which it was way shinier before I sanded it, than the rest of the neck. And I kind of wanted to keep that all looking somewhat even. So the neck and the peg head are all kind of in the same sheen area, which is I'm happy with. So I'll put the tuners back on it and string it up and bring you back for a listen. Okay, not a bad sounding old guitar. What do we figure out? 1984. String it up, no issues whatsoever. The repair is solid. It's not going anywhere. Yeah, it looks a little dark. I'm not happy about that, but that is in the camera. It really doesn't look that dark in real life. Something about the way the lens picks up. Anyway, I'm thinking the customer would be very happy with that. I'm happy with it. And I'll tell you what it really needs is a fret job. These things are crunched, although it's not rattling. So. Well, anyway, so that's it for this one, 1984 Martin. I've cleaned up the fretboard and oiled it, and I cleaned the top. Yeah, I cleaned the top. And I'm going to polish up the rest of the guitar, and then it's all finished. So, thanks for watching, guys.